All right, for this demo, we're going to get into story, and we're going to look at this story moment from our film, The Dam Keeper.
Dam Keeper.
And the Dam Keeper, in this moment, the pig has been picked on, and he feels like he's being laughed at. And this is very much a moment that's about how the pig feels, his perception. Mm-hmm. Feeling like these characters, his peers, these other students, are really kind of laughing at him. Not laughing with him, but really kind of laughing at him. Mm-hmm. And I think in his perception, it's a much bigger moment than it really is in reality. From an objective point of view, it might not be quite as bad as this.
Yeah.
These big towering characters. So what's great in design that's helping me with this is that these characters are physically bigger than him. Mm-hmm. The camera angle's set kind of low, so we're looking up at these characters, and they just look monumental. Backing out of that, I think, the most important thing for me is not actually showing the pig so much as these characters, this wall of characters and them laughing is the choice that I made. I try to think about, I really try to think of how to connect this to a moment in my life.
Okay.
And for me, I just remember this moment when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and I had playing with my brother and his friends, and my brother's 2 years older than I am. And when you're about 6 or 7, 2 years is a big deal. These were the kids that were playing on the older side of the playground. And so I got to play with them because my brother was there and he let me tag along. But I remember I fell down once, and we were playing this game called Foursquare. And, it was on the blacktop, and I fell down trying to reach for a ball. And I just remember being on the ground, and maybe they were kind of coming over to help me up because I was the little kid, but I remember they couldn't stop laughing. Just like that. In my mind, they were bullies.
Yeah.
I guess my life hasn't changed much since then. But I just remember physically I was small for my age, but these guys were 2 years older than I was, towering over me. And I just remember this feeling of kind of looking up at them and squinting at them. I think part of it was the tears that were starting to well up. Mm-hmm. But it was this kind of blurry moment where I feel like they were just, I had that feeling of just being the little guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to relate to here in terms of painting. Now, I've started off painting this thing just like we've started all of our painting, neutral, overcast, sort of lighting setup. To just get local values down. We're only going to work in black and white for this guy.
Yeah.
And this is quite sped up. I took a lot more time than what's showing here. But I figured it's okay to speed this guy up because we all know at this point painting with overcast light. But as far as the process, those are the things that I was starting to begin to think about.
So at this stage, are you thinking about lighting, or are you just doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At this point, I'm really thinking about. I've kept the overcast light coming kind of above them, but kind of behind them a little bit. And I'm thinking that I'm really going to have them backlit. These big shadowy figures towering over him. It's kind of my thinking.
Yeah. So that's why almost like you're painting just a shadow side with the fill light in mind, which is the sort of diffused fill light.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then, design-wise too, it was really fun. These aren't how our characters actually look, but I kind of made them look a little scary, a little weird. Like if you look at the rabbit, he kind of has this weird scrunched up face, kind of scary looking. And the teeth of the hippo and the bear, I really tried the hippo to have these really imperfect teeth, this giant grin. And the bear has got, he's pointing that finger and he's got really messed up teeth. I always think it's weird. I mean, this is a little bit of a segue, but I always think it's weird when like really funky, weird people, especially in kids, you see this, like you can kind of see who they're going to grow up to be, and they're picking on this poor guy, this pig. But in the end that these characters are kind of the characters that as adults might get made fun of. But this is kind of their moment in the sun. Oh, there's some sneak peeks back there of other things we have going on. But So now, I'm getting the fox. The other thing is that the fox is this character who isn't really part of the bullying, just wanting to see if the pig's okay. There's been a bit of a misunderstanding, and
he's concerned.
But he's kind of tucked behind. This is kind of starting to feel. One thing that's also happening here is I'm using a bit of pattern in the rabbit to off to the side over there, and trying to break up some of this black and white. They all have dark pants and light shirts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to break up some of that stuff.
And you're intentionally drawing some, I knew hippo and bear characters are big, but then in the movie, the rabbit and the lamb characters weren't that big, but then you made them all big.
Yeah, because for me that was a real choice of representing pigs' perception.
Yeah.
That they felt bigger than they actually are, and then kind of starting to paint in pig here. A pretty difficult angle to paint pig.
Yeah.
From the back with no real distinguishing features of him. Yeah. But again, that's part of the reason why I felt like this image was not about pigs so much as pig's perception of these characters.
Yeah. What did you do that?
Yeah, so I put a little bit of a glow. This overcast light is so bright.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I'm really knocking in the shadow.
Yeah.
So I'm painting out the adjustment layer mask to get this rim light from the top.
I see.
So I'm just erasing out of the shadow layer. This is going back to the overcast layer that I had painted.
Yeah.
Here, and it's kind of this light that's coming from behind. You can already kind of start to see the pig is not yet affected by that shadow layer yet, but you can kind of see how that's resulting. And I'm just massaging edges at this point, getting form, making sure that the direction of the light is consistent across all the characters, and the intensity of the light is kind of equal across all those characters based on their local color materials. There's a bit of cheating. I'm trying to pick out the hippo snout and the bear snout a little bit to get just a little bit of form. I don't know that from that angle of light it's exactly going to do that. I also felt I wanted the characters to stand out a little bit more, so I darkened the background so that these lit kind of areas were a little bit brighter, and I went back and hit those areas a little bit brighter.
Yeah, but now it's really intimidating. They're really dark, big figures just filling up the whole scene.
This is my memory of the playground. Isn't it terrifying? This every day I work with you, I always feel like this at some point in the day.
You had a hippo?
Yeah. And so, it's this rim light that's hitting it back behind. And then I thought I wanted to get the scale to feel even bigger. So what I started to do is I painted this layer that was going to be atmosphere. And I'm using a Gaussian blur and a bit of overlay. And laying this on top of kind of the upper part of hippo and fox and these characters to use a bit of atmosphere to get that scale to push a little bit more.
Wow.
And to simplify it a little bit more. And this is really kind of, realistically, I don't know that this would occur, but since we're in that world of playing with a character's perception, this is really the fun part. And then I had this idea of what if even, when I think about uplighting, I always think about scary uplighting.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if some of the bounce, actually, we could use some of the bounce light and get them to feel a little more uplit.
Yeah.
Not overpowering that rim light, but just getting a little bit of that effect. And so I started painting in that light, and I realized, my shadows, based off that rim light to make that work, might need to go a little bit darker. So, at a certain point, too, I'm painting all this light in, but I also wanted to kind of paint some of the shadow in and push some of those darks a little bit more to accentuate that bounce light. And so that's kind of what's happening right here, is getting a little bit of the bounce light. And you can see he kind of starts to become a little bit of a scary character. But that definitely was the intent, is to kind of make them a little bit creepy, a little bit scary.
Definitely you don't want to be a pig here, huh?
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah. And you can see it's fun to push that rabbit, because it's funny to me because that's not the form of our rabbit in the film, but it almost feels like one of those scary rabbit masks. That's what I kept thinking about from Halloween and stuff. I feel like there's always those masks that kind of look creepy and kind of off. That's what was really fun, to push those forms around with the rabbit and just catch light on those different surfaces at different spots. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of the guy, and I'm just getting a little bit of that bounce light to affect the pig a little bit. But overall, that's kind of the feeling that I went for, taking it from an overcast lighting setup into this kind of scary scene for pig, using the light to tell the story.
That's really great.
Okay, so story's a big subject, and we are not done here talking about story. We're going to continue to talk about story because it's such a big topic, and it's something that I think we're so fascinated by. So it's fun to talk about for us. We've really stuck to value again. And the reason why is because it allows us to focus on some of the things that are more important before moving on to some of the things that can be distracting. So let's start there.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover color. I know you guys are mostly interested in that too. But hopefully you'll find the value of just focusing on brightness, lighting. And it'll come really handy when we start color in a few weeks.
Absolutely. So with that, good luck on your assignments. Looking forward to seeing them. And we'll see you next week.